Hello everyone, it's DuckFairy07. Today we are playing Blue-Red Scam. So we are playing 8 of our elementals, Subtlety and Fury, and 4 Slip Out of Back as an instant that lets us scam our elementals in. It puts a 1-1 counter on them and it phases them out. So they come back to the play at the beginning of your next step, and they already have 1-1 counter on it. And the sweet thing is it can't kill it on their turn, so can't use the sorcery speed removal. And when you untap on your turn, you can use like Spell Pierce if you have it in hand to protect it, stuff like that. Okay, so other than that, we got Ragavan. We got a lot of cantrips and of course 2 Murktides. Okay, so other than that, it's usual stuff like a Counterspell, Expressive Iteration, Spell Pierces, Lightning Bolt, couple of Unholy Hits. So we got 8 of our scam spells in this deck. We got some instants and sorceries that can be easily put into the graveyard. So I think Unholy Heat is playable in this deck because we are going to kind of pretty easy put instant sorcery, a creature and land in the graveyard to enable Unholy Heat. But I'm playing only 2 of those and not 4 because it may not be consistent enough. Okay, of course, Expressive Iteration for card advantage in addition to all the cantrips, and that's it. So on the sideboard we have some Blood Moons, some Artifact Hate, Explosives, some Graveyard Hate, and some universally more counters like 1 Dispute, 1 Change the Equation, and 2 Dress Downs. Okay, so let's go check out the gameplay. Okay, so match 1, playing second, keeping a pretty decent hand. So we got Spears, I got a Slip Out the Back, I got Iterations, Preordain. Okay, so I decided to not play the Preordain on this turn, but to hold the Spell Pierce. Opponent was obviously on Dimir, so they didn't do anything, but now I was able to either play the Preordain or just hold the Counterspell. I expected them to maybe try to resolve the Bowmasters, and so I decided to hold the counterspell, but they went to cycle the Fractured Sanity, so yeah. I decided to fetch immediately, and opponent tried to go Headroom Crab. I counterspelled it and they took all my counterspells with Surgical. Now I went for the Iteration, trying to find some threat, but also just hold the Spell Pierce. But since I got the Subtlety immediately, I decided to use a Slip Out the Back to put it into play, start pressuring my opponent, pressuring their life total, and opponent resolves the Ensnaring Bridge. So I can't really attack on my turn, so I go for another Expressive Iteration and pass the turn holding double Pierce. Yeah, so this is pretty hard situation for me, but if they have 4 cards in hand and I still have like stuff like Ragavan in hand I can use and attack. Okay, so they went for Fatal Push, but I decided to protect my Subtlety with the Spell Pierce, and I go for another Expressive Iteration, playing that Ragavan, and yep, passing the turn. Okay, so opponent goes for Tasha's there, milling 13 cards and playing Ruin Crab for the blocks. So on my turn, now I had some options. I went for Otawara, bouncing the Ensnaring Bridge, attacking for 6, and then holding the Pierce for their turn. Opponent decides against playing the bridge and just goes for removal. So yeah, I had a Pierce, they didn't have 5th mana to play around it. So I attacked with Ragavan again, holding Subtlety, Pierce Bolt for their turn. Okay, so they actually needed like a land to be able to play the bridge. I went for Subtlety on Crab, and I know my opponent has the Ensnaring Bridge in their hand, but I decide to use Spell Pierce in this situation to resolve my Teferi and get in for 3 damage next turn with Subtlety. And yeah, so I went for a Preordain into Iteration, into Consider, digging very deep, trying to find something relevant. And yeah, so I pass the turn, opponent is now on 5 life, I have Bolt in hand, and they use the Surgical to put themselves on 3, and I finish the game with Lightning Bolt, so that was it. Okay, so let's check out game 2. I had to mulligan this, no lander, and keeping decent hand, opponent milling me and enabling early Murktide can be very powerful. I also top deck Ragavan for immediate threat they have to deal with. Yeah, and as I said, they milled me, played Archite Trap. This means I can go for turn 2 Murktide, which can obviously be very powerful. I also have option to attack, connect with Ragavan first, and then just hold the counterspell and until playing Murktide is secure. Okay, so I get a land, and the opponent didn't kill Ragavan last turn, so I try to connect again. And they go for Murderous Cut on my Ragavan, and now I can play Murktide, also resolve the Murktide Regent, and next turn I have 8-8 Murktide and 3-2 Ragavan attacking. Together with Bolt, that's already almost like lethal, but opponent has removal for Murktide. That is fine, I'm still attacking with Ragavan, putting them on 9 life with another Bolt in hand that's like close to lethal. I have another Slip Out of Back to protect Ragavan. So I connect with Ragavan again and play Fury as another attacker for the next turn, holding Counterspell, Slip Out of Back and Bolt for the next turn. Opponent goes for Ensnaring Bridge, I have counter, and that is the game. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Match 2, sorry, against Mangu. He was playing blue-red deck too, and it was pretty interesting match, so let's check out how it went. Okay, so I was playing second. I kept a slower hand, but it was fine in this matchup. So I passed the turn holding Consider Bolt. Okay, so opponent had a slower hand too, not doing much, so I just went for Consider here, grabbing the Preordain. And yeah, so I went for Expressive Iteration, resolved it, played my land and played the Ragavan. I had another Ragavan in hand. But opponent goes Snapcaster Consider, and obviously when they play Snapcaster in a blue-red deck, this means they're playing Flame of Feiner, so they got to kill my Ragavan and draw 2 cards, which is very powerful. I want to kill their Snapcaster because that means they can't use Flame of Feiners as efficiently, and they play like 4 of them in their deck probably. So I had a window there to freely resolve my big Murktide, so I went for a 7-7 Murktide when I had a chance, but opponent has a bounce. So on my turn I continue pressuring them with Ragavan. So I went for Ragavan Dash. They had Bolt, which is fine, and I used this situation to cantrip and resolve another Ragavan. My hand is pretty good now. I have Double Fury, Subtlety, Lightning Bolt, all cards that are very good in the mid game and the late game. Opponent then goes for their Murktide, and in this situation I decide to use my Subtlety, ditching my Murktide. My Murktide was not big enough at the moment to compete with theirs. So I decided to use the Subtlety, and this means they have to do a lot of work before filling the graveyard again and replaying it. I think this was a key moment in this match. Subtleting their Murktide, it slowed them down a lot, and I was able now to attack with Ragavan, attack with Fury, but opponent has a way out again, killing both of my creatures. But this is opponent is now on 0 cards in hand, and I have 2 Furies, and I decide to go for the Fury scam and not wait to get another land. And I think this proved to be a good decision, because I had 2 turn clock and opponent was in top deck mode. They only have a couple more of Flame of Feiners in their deck to try to survive this, and that's it. Okay, so let's check out game 2. Okay, I kept a pretty decent hand. Opponent starts with Ragavan, but I have a turn 1 solution for it. Now I untap and play Ragavan holding triple protection, and this is pretty sweet when you have a slip out or back in situations like this, because this allows you to phase out Ragavan until your turn, and then on your turn you can use slip out or back again when you untap and get the mana to use it. Unfortunately, opponent had a Pierce in that situation, and yeah, so my Ragavan was dead, and my 2 cards in my hand pretty dead at the moment. So not a good situation for me right now, especially since I top decked another land. This was pretty bad for me. I had a situation here when I was able to use my Spell Pierce to counter opponent's Archmage Charm, which was pretty good, but they had a Flame of Feiners on their turn to draw 2 more, and I kept top decking lands 3 in a row right now. At least this one was Otawara, so I can use that on their Murktide. They played Mutavolt, and I got another Force of Negation, which is better than land but not great. Opponent also didn't have much pressure, no creatures, but they started attacking with Mutavolt, and I got another land from the top. At this point, this was all my fetchables. I literally had just a single Spirebluff Canal in my deck that can give me mana. So a big flood in this game too. Opponent continues to attack with Mutavolt. Okay, they go for Ragavan, and Ragavan is pretty good against me in this situation, but I draw a Subtlety, finally a spell I can use, and yeah, so I went to for a Ragavan, because I had Subtlety I wanted to play, try to resolve it, also had Force of Negation. I was trying to do something here to put myself in a decent situation, but opponent has a Flusterstorm and and the Counterspell, which was expected, but yeah. So that was basically it. I was too far behind. Opponent had Ragavan on the field and 4 cards in hand, and that was it. Yeah, the draws were really terrible. So in the game 3, I had a much better hand. So turn 1 Ragavan protected by Force of Negation on their turn and slip out back on my turn. That is really good. So I protect the Ragavan and untap with slip out the back and Expressive Iteration. I go for a fetch on my turn, and they try to use Bolt, but I have the slip out the back to protect it, and I didn't want to use Expressive Iteration in this situation. I just hold the Spell Pierce for their turn and decide to use it immediately on their Consider. I felt like they're trying to dig for more removals to get rid of this Ragavan. That's why I used Spell Pierce on Consider. Usually don't really do that often, but had a feeling that this could be good in a situation like this. So on my turn, I again went for the Ragavan, and yeah, I connected with Ragavan, which was pretty good. Then I started try to resolve the Expressive Iteration. When I didn't resolve it, I went for Bolt Face and resolve my big Murktide. That was the plan, and yeah, I put large Murktide into play. 8/8 Murktide, which is lethal alone for the next turn, and the opponent doesn't even have a removal for the Ragavan, and that is the game. Okay, so let's go check out game 3. Match 3, sorry. Okay, in the match 3, I kept a decent hand, but I didn't have a red land, but it was okay considering my hand was only blue spells at the moment. I decided to hold Interaction. I was expecting them to maybe play Vrenensix, something like that. Okay, so opponent decides to use the Force of Negation on my Preordain, which was kind of weird. So I do the same. I use a Pierce to counter their Preordain, and they were stuck on 2 lands. I ditch all my cards from the top on the bottom to find the land, and I did find it, holding a Counterspell in hand. Okay, so definitely I want in this situation to go for Expressive, and I had option to take 2 lands, but instead I take a Counterspell to my hand and put land on the field. Opponent finds a land they were looking for and tries to resolve the Day's Undoing, because their hand was probably bad, but I use my Counterspell and resolve big Murktide on my turn, protected with Counterspell for their Leyline Binding. But they had another one, but that was fine. My hand was very good in situations like this. 3 Furies, 2 Subtleties. Pretty good in this at this moment. So I wanted to start attacking, so I just played one of my Subtleties, and I expected them to maybe try to play a creature next turn, so I wanted to hold a Subtlety, another one for their Kahira, and they went for it and put it on the bottom. Okay, so on my turn I go for the Ragavan dash, putting my opponent on 4 life, and I find a slip out of back with my Expressive, so I just play it on one of my Subtleties to protect it until my turn. Opponent has the One Ring to make them survive another turn, but I also find a Lightning Bolt that I can use instant speed to kill them, and that is the match. Okay, so that is the game. Let's check out the game 2. Okay, so pretty weird hand, but no threats, but I decide to keep anyway. Let's check out my sideboarding. I decided to trim two cantrips, one slip out the back, and two furies, because yeah, the fury is not that efficient. I didn't need the Unholy Heats too. So yeah, now I had a Force of Negation and Ragavan tried to dash it. That didn't go through, but yeah, my hand was again good. A double Fury and a Bolt if needed. Okay, so I draw the Mystical Dispute for a turn, so I decided to just hold the dispute in case they try to resolve the ring or whatever, but they just go for Kahira hand and probably holding some interaction. But since I got cast into the fire, that is like a good solution for their resolved ring, and that is probably the biggest problem for me right now. That can happen if they resolve the ring, but now I have solution for it, so it's perfectly fine. Opponent goes for a Lorien and yeah, unfortunately resolves that, drawing 3 cards. That was pretty good for them, but I draw a land to resolve my Fury, and that's what I wanted. And I have solutions for the ring, as I said, so I'm fine even if they play it. And yeah, this became an elemental battle, so I Fury their guy, they Solitude my creature, I Fury their creature, they try to do it again, but I decide to use Subtlety this time, because next turn I would have a Dispute available, but they have another Solitude to pitch cast. Yeah, okay, so in this situation I had to just pass the turn, waiting for more draws from the top. Trying to find more creatures, and I find Ragavan. So I go for dash. Opponent tries to play that Solitude again, but I have a Dispute to counter it, which was pretty sweet. And yeah, go for the Ragavan dash. Try to steal something from the top. Going for Preordain and Expressive. Okay, I go for Ragavan dash again, but this time I have a Counterspell to protect it. So when opponent try to binding, I go for the Counterspell and yeah, go for the dash again. Ragavan is my only threat at the moment, and I was able to steal Preordain from their deck. Okay, so again, now I find the Murktide, which is obviously great, and I went for Ragavan dash again. They didn't have a solution for it this time, and I tried to resolve my Murktide and I succeed. And when you have Slip Out to back in hand and Murktide on the field, that's like very good position. Opponent goes for the ring, gets the protection for a turn, so they are safe there. But overall, pretty good position for me. I have everything I need. Cast into the fire to get rid of the ring. I have Bolt and Ragavan in hand to pressure them. I Slip Out the back to protect the Murktide, and Subtlety for their elementals. For their Solitudes, of course. Opponent has on thin ice. Didn't expect that, but I have Slip Out the back to protect the Murktide, and it phases out until my turn, so they can only use instant speed removal on it. And they had binding this time, But yeah, that was fine. I still got more threats coming up, so I go for a Ragavan dash again, and this time I have now I have a lethal next turn in multiple ways. Spell Pierce kind of useless now, but I have a Subtlety to play on their Teferi, and if they don't have other solutions, this is like very close to lethal. Opponent has Supreme Verdict to kill Subtlety, but Ragavan plus Bolt means lethal if they don't have another instant speed removal. And that's it. Okay. So that was match 3, and it went very well so far, but I got paired against 2 Amulet Titan decks in the last 2 matches, and yeah, they had pretty brutal hands, and the matches were pretty similar, so we are just going to watch one of those. I think this deck has a decent interaction against Amulet, so I have 4 Subtleties in the main. That is one of the best cards in this matchup, and also when you're able to scam it instant speed like Subtlety, that's even better. And yeah, so I got Ragavan here attacking, I got a Counterspell, but my opponent has double Saga, which is never good. And I also have Unholy Heat, which I can enable fairly consistently until relevant turns. So I go for Counterspell on Dryad, then connect again with Ragavan, playing a Preordain, digging some more, trying to find something relevant. Yeah, I think I had a misplay here. No, I didn't. Okay, so never mind. Opponent goes for another Amulet, making them a lot of mana on their turn, and now they have mana to play the Titan. But guess they didn't. Yeah, so Titan in this situation, like with 2 Amulet of Figures on the field, means they can do really nasty stuff, and they can go for I'm already on 15, so there's no need in doing anything weird. They can just go for haste on both of their creatures, give it double strike, and easily finish the match. That was the game. Okay, a pretty quick win by Amulet. I had Counterspell there. I kind of missed Subtlety. Even if I had Subtlety, I would just probably delay the loss for a turn. And I have 3 Blood Moons post board, and I have Cast into the Fires. Lightning Bolts are kind of bad against them, doesn't kill anything, and Unholy Heat kills everything, so it's much better. But I trimmed on Consider, I trimmed on Pierces, and put in my Blood Moons. Okay, so I really wanted to connect with Ragavan here, so I went for the Fury, but didn't have any interaction here. So they played the Ring. Went for Amulet, and they were on too much life at the moment, so I wasn't able to do much. I had a Subtlety this time with a slip out the back, but opponent had a resolved Ring, so it didn't really matter that much. They tried to block my Ragavan, so I go for the Subtlety, go for the connect, and play their Endurance, and put a considerable amount of power on the field for next turn. So basically, if they don't do anything, they can die next turn. But also opponent has like 8 cards in hand right now with the Ring resolved, and they go for a Titan attack. they remove my graveyard, so I can't use the Unholy Heat or anything like that, but I'm kind of still in the game. I have Fury to finish off Primeval Titan, and they have to block, but I draw another red card, so I was able to go Fury plus Heat, attack with everything. This is 9 damage, and it is lethal, but opponent has a Dismember to kill my Subtlety, and they survive on very low on life, kill their one ring to live another turn. So I had the Blood Moon on top right now, but it was too late for it. So I go for the attack, another attack, but opponent again has interaction. So I go for slip out the back on my endurance to protect it, so they don't bounce it back to their hand. So this way I wasn't able to deal any damage this turn, and the opponent had another Titan on their next turn, and that was it. I didn't have any outs since my bolts are out of the deck, and that was the game. Okay, so yeah, another match was also Amulet Titan match, pretty similar. They had even better hand, I think, and just went for turn 3 kill both games. I didn't have a relevant interaction I needed, like Counterspell, Subtlety. Okay, but yeah, that's it. So hope you liked the gameplay, hope you like this deck. This is my variant of Blue-Red Scum. I think Spell Pierce is very well positioned right now, so I want to have that and Force of Negation in the sideboard. I think I switched to the third Spell Pierce on the side instead of one of these, I think. Okay, so Murktide Regent as a 2-off in this deck with a lot of cantrips. It's considerable to put a third one maybe in the deck. I think Murktide is very good right now. Often if you can protect it with Counterspell, you can do very aggressive gameplays to play it early, like you saw in some of the matches. Even against Solitude, you have Subtlety and Counterspell to protect it. Slip out the back. I think slip out of the back is very nice way to protect your creatures against elementals like Fury, Solitude. So I think maybe I was considering definitely adding a third Murktide Regent, partially because slip out the back work very well with it, and it's a very powerful threat if you have a card like that to interact with it. Also, I think Fury Scam and Subtlety Scam with slip out the back are very good right now. I think this is decent way to play blue-red at the moment, and yeah, so this is, I would say, my favorite way to play blue-red at the moment, and I kind of like that Unholy Heat is well supported in this deck, since you have 8 of these pitch elementals that you can easily put in your graveyard, and that often happens. Also with Ragavans too, opponents just really want to kill it as soon as possible. So Unholy Heats are very often online in this deck, even without Misha Bubbles or stuff like that. And that's it. Okay, so friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, comment in the video, tell me how you feel about this variant of a deck compared to regular blue-red variants played right now. Okay, so I also saw a Teamer becoming popular recently, and yeah, there are some options here. I think this is one of them, and I was struggling against Amulet Titans in this league, which I didn't expect since I had 4 Subtleties in, but yeah, they had pretty good hands, and I had Blood Moons and Cast into the Fire post board. but that didn't help. Also, Change the Equation is very good card against them. Counters everything, counters Titan, counters Amulet, Dryad, whatever. Okay, so, yeah, that didn't help too, and yeah, I was pretty bad against Amulet, but I felt pretty good against everything else I played against. And that's it. Okay, so again, thank you for watching and goodbye.